creators and artists. MerMay is a month-long celebration of creativity, community, and mermaids. We invited animation industry vet and Mermaids creator Tom Bancroft, as well as toy design and all-around story person Whitney Pollett, to discuss this year's ongoing challenge and why animation artists should participate in this event. So, Whitney, Tom, welcome to the stream.
Thank you for
Hello,
having
Mike.
us.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much for joining. I want to ask you both, what is MerMay and how do artists participate in this month-long event? Tom, let's start with you.
Okay, I'll do the first half. What is MerMay? So MerMay is something, I think this is our 6th year now. I created it in 2016 by accident when I did a drawing of 2 teenage mermaids looking at their shell phones, just like you would see in any teenage girl's bedroom as they're giggling and looking at stuff. Only it was in the middle of the ocean and they were mermaids. And that went viral. And I said, you know what, let's do like a month long of drawing mermaids. I didn't create the month-long challenge. That was Inktober. That was a few years old by that time. But what I didn't realize was that there was a hunger and a thirst for not only being able to draw whatever and whatever technique, because Inktober was very technique specific, hand inking, especially back in the day. This was like open to digital artists. And I think they were looking for a new venue, and I just gave them a subject matter. And it turns out that subject matter, mermaids, was hugely popular. And I blame Ariel mostly, but it took off from there, even that first year, and now has only exploded as the years have gone by. 2020 really blew it up because it was just after everybody was shut in for the pandemic in that May. And so now we have millions of people that take part in it around the world. And so I'll let Whitney kind of go into the next part of that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, when I first saw it back in 2016, I think I saw Liana He post something about MerMay, and she's already been this prolific mermaid artist. But when she hashtagged MerMay, I thought that is such a cute name. I loved it so much. So I wanted to participate too. And I remember she was like, oh, make sure that you at Tom Bancroft because he's the creator. And I was like, that's awesome. So I've participated ever since, every year. I don't do every single day just because I don't have I don't think I have the commitment, maybe. But That's true. So yeah, like I try to participate as much as possible, but mostly I love seeing everyone else's, contributions and creations. And I think that's my favorite part of MerMay is discovering new cool artists and seeing all the like really interesting ways people will, show their love for mermaids. So like I have this friend who's a cake decorator, and she's been sculpting with cake and fondant and creating these like insanely cool sculptures. So it's
amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, it's awesome seeing how inspired people get with just this simple prompt of mermaids and a word,
So I think it's really cool when someone starts an event or a trend and people follow and join in and add their own spin to things. So I really wanted to ask, how did the event grow over the years since the initial conception?
Well, it's grown in that the first couple of years we didn't have a contest, and the art contest came in about, I think this is our 4th year now with the art contest, and it was because I actually don't remember how I kind of said, oh, let's go into a contest, but I think it was getting so popular that sponsors were coming to me, and so Wacom was already a good friend of mine, some of the people there, and I'd been an influencer with them. And so they approached and said, hey, if we gave you a bunch of free Cintiqs, would you do, I don't know if they started the idea or if I did, but basically we made a partnership that first year, and that really grew. I think people got really excited. Inktober doesn't have a contest side of it. And I thought, you know what, this really takes it to the next level. And then just last year, we discovered, oh, wait, TikTok, we should check and see if other people are using other platforms. Sure enough, went to TikTok. It was like 23 million people hashtagging MerMay on TikTok. And then, Whitney, you could probably speak to this more because you looked on YouTube, and it was, thousands of people were hashtagging MerMay there too.
Yeah, a lot of tutorials on YouTube, which is great. And then TikTok has a lot of really interesting flips on mermaids, which I love. And then Instagram, gorgeous illustration work and animation as well. So it's cool to see how the platform influences the creativity very specifically. But yeah, millions on TikTok, millions on Instagram, and tens of thousands on YouTube, which is great.
Yeah, and I'll add, I added an animation category to the contest. It was illustration originally because that's kind of what was really being done. But then just last year added an animation category, and we had people doing animated shorts with mermaids. And so we have that going again this year too. We have an animation category, and hopefully because they knew about it last year, hopefully the word has gotten out. It's still a smaller part of the contest, but the prizes, by the way, are just as good as the illustration. You're still getting a huge Cintiq and things like that if you win. So shout out to everybody that's an animator. I have a feeling there's a few here listening, but we need more animation content, and it is not too late.
Yeah. So I know that you're both judges on the official challenge this year, but I wanted to ask, what are some of the mermaid submissions that have impressed you so far?
Go ahead, Whitney, you start.
I was like, wait, let me pull it up. I have it ready. Oh, I'm so glad you asked me earlier because it's like ready to go. I've been saving all of my mermaid submissions that I really love. And so I have a lot here. But I was just showing Tom, I think my favorite one that stands out to me at the moment was the word symbiotic. I love this piece so much. Just like take me to that anemone bed, you know?
Yeah, give a shout out to
really
the artist.
Oh, I hope I don't butcher the name, but it's Misu Win Art, MISUWINART. Lovely, lovely work. And she's been submitting like consistently, so very impressive.
So I'll do a really quick one, which is I've discovered on TikTok. Now our contest mostly is on Instagram, I must admit. We're starting to just barely, and we're really frantically just trying to keep up with that. But we are trying to slide into TikTok too a little bit more and more. We have a TikTok page there, and we're not feeding it super well yet, but that'll be more of phase 2 probably next year. But I will say that I keep seeing somebody that's been posting, I think her name's Lisa, and she's doing a draw one of her followers every day as a mermaid.
I love her. Yes.
Yeah.
She's
Really, she was already doing 100 days of drawing a follower, I think. And then when MerMay came around, she was about to stop, and she continued it to encompass MerMay also. And so now she's making her followers into mermaids. And I must admit, I've become a huge fan of her work and just her stage presence. She's got a great personality. Yeah. She edits the things really nicely. So she's on TikTok, and then of course showing it on Instagram also. And so I need to figure out her name so I can give that shout out. But
wait, hold on, I have it. It's IB Art or LB Fine Art. But let me show you guys. She's so good.
LB Fine Art, yeah, something like that.
So she just does her coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, she calls it
100 days, and then if you comment. Yeah, and then quickie drawing.
Those are fantastic.
I know.
And she's a really good artist too, so it's the whole package for sure.
Yes.
So aside from fabulous prizes from Wacom, what do artists get out of participating in MerMay?
Well, short answer is they get better. So
I love that. That's what I was going to say.
That is the actual kind of the genesis of this. Was I was trying to encourage people to draw every day, and I wanted to do it myself, of course. Not that I don't already, but it was a way to kind of have a concentrated moment where because I do a lot of meetings now, I do a lot of emails, and I've really had to pull away from quite being able to draw every day sometimes. And so I was trying to encourage artists to go, okay, if you want to get better, Inktober's doing it with ink, and obviously you sketch that out first, but still, let's really concentrate on trying to do something at least twice a year, right? They have October, we'll have May, and we'll encourage it. So drawing every day is really the number one goal. Mermaids just happen to be the subject.
So, as judges, what are you looking for from applications for submissions to the Mermaid Challenge that you're doing officially through your website?
Go ahead, Whitney.
well,
What are we looking for? Is that the question?
Yeah, what are you looking for in terms of the submissions that you'll be judging?
Oh, okay. I'll let you go on to what stands out. I want to go to the rules part of it, which is we do have very specific hashtags that we need people to use. And I want to get this out there because so many amazingly talented artists are getting passed by not being included in the contest. And they may be posting every day and killing themselves. And I hate to see it happen. So we always say, look at the official rules on mermaid.com. So go to mermaid.com into the contest. And the hashtag, like for illustration, there's a hashtag, and I pretty much know it. I think it's Wacom Mermaid 2022. And then for the animation contest to be considered for that hashtag is Animate Mermaid 2022, I think it is. And so if you're not using those are the ones that the judges are going to. It's the easiest way for us to funnel down to the people that want to be considered for the contest. So it's so important for us that they use that. And to be honest, we click that hashtag and we just scroll those when it comes time for judging. I'm not saying we do during all month long. Sorry, we're looking at everything. There's no doubt about it, and seeing a lot of stuff. But the assumption is, because a lot of pros are like, oh, I don't want to go in for the contest. I'm not really going to do 31 days, which you don't have to anyway. But I want that. I already have a Cintiq. I want other people to, so I'm just doing it, right? I want to just do it because it's pleasurable. But the people that want to do it and actually have a potential of winning the contest, you got to use those hashtags. So Whitney, I'm going to give you the second part of that, which is like, what are the things that stand out to you artistically?
Yeah. And I'm going to jump in real quick too. Thank you to the sponsors. So definitely follow them as well. So use those hashtags and then follow Wacom, follow Official Mermaids, follow Toon Boom, because we want to get you guys seen too for being so generous and kind. So yeah.
Wait, we're sponsored this year?
Yeah, you guys are.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's funny because this came about. I think you guys were sniffing down to do this interview well before we even got into the Toon Boom sponsorship. So they are kind of unrelated, different people we were talking to, but it is funny. Yes, there's a Toon Boom. You'll win, I think, a year's worth of subscription if you're the first place, and I think second place too.
Yeah,
but we got
and then the whole suite for the first place winner. Anyway, it's very exciting, and we love that this contest is getting like bigger and bigger every year. Like Tom's dream was to just hook someone up with an entire studio. It's like you get the Cintiq, you get the animation software, you get some dolls too. Why not? Because of MGA's donating for the Mermaids doll. Anyway, it's just cute. It's been really cool. But so what draws me into the Mermaids that I like? It's like really just what's your preference when it comes to art. For me, I like to feel something when I see it. So like, is there some kind of a storytelling element? I'm not as impressed with like technical execution, but some people really are, so you definitely have to ask all of the judges, like what really speaks to them. But for me, like, it's got to move me, so that's why I really love that symbiotic one. It just made me feel like at ease. That was a great one.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that, because that's why we have multiple judges. We have 7, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 different judges,
all very talented too.
Oh,
so talented.
Yeah, we got Jody Benson, everybody. Jody Benson, the voice of Ariel, is one of our judges. We're so thrilled about that. I'm probably more excited than anybody. And so
I don't know.
what she's going to be looking for is going to be radically different than what I'm going to be looking for, and what Whitney's going to be looking for. Again, it'll probably be, something that makes her feel good or whatever, and she can't explain what that is, what that element is, but it appealed to her.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to probably be looking for stories. I love to, that's what's the animator in me. I like to see storytelling. Did they use the prompt or even not use the prompt? You don't have to use the prompt list. But whatever that image is it telling a story where I get to be in that world? And then there's other artists that we have. We have John Ripa, who's a director at Disney and head story guy. He's going to be looking probably, for a lot of the same things, story and personality and expressions. But then we have some more, and then we have Lotus Bubbles, Elaine, who is, I can't speak for her, but maybe she's going to be more into color, and that's going to be catching her eye, So I love the variety.
Liana He, the woman I mentioned earlier, the prolific mermaid artist, she's a judge this year, and she's a wonderful person. We have Dylan Bonner, who's also a prolific mermaid artist and a wonderful person, and he also does work for the Disney Wonderground Gallery, as does Liana and myself too. I think that's it. But yeah, like this lineup, and Jodie Benson, what? Like this lineup is so cool. I'm so honored to be like with you all.
It's really a who's who of mermaids.
Right. Yeah.
We don't have a real mermaid. I think it's the only thing we're missing.
Jodie, come on.
But you could say Jodie is, yeah.
So I'm really curious about one thing is which of this year's prompts is your favorite?
Oh, that's a good question. Is yours symbiotic, Whitney? You mentioned that one.
So far, yeah, I think so. I love that one.
And personally, I'm very curious about cyberpunk mermaids because you would think that electronics usually don't get along with salt water, but I think there's some opportunities there.
Heck yeah.
Well, I've already missed one of mine. Superstar was one that I was kind of really interested in doing, and I didn't get to it because that was yesterday's word. We do, and you're right. I had like also comic book. I think that was mine for May 29th. Just to see a mermaid reading a comic, or maybe making a comic. I don't know, but it'll
in a comic. I mean, it's interesting because the interpretation too of it, like what does it mean if a mermaid is comic book style, like or to interpret that prompt, like are you talking like halftone sort of effects, or are you talking about like the language of comics? I'm a huge comic nerd. I have understanding comics behind me and a whole bunch of.
I see novels. That, yeah.
So I can overthink that one for days.
Well, and you can for any one of these prompts, honestly, and that's what actually is I think the fun part is to see all the different interpretations. So hit that hashtag also that on May, whatever that is, hit hashtag comic book. You'll probably see all the different variations that people did that day. Or like I said, I missed Superstar yesterday. I could hit the hashtag Superstar, and there'll be other things, but I'll see a lot of mermaids doing that prompt.
I mean, I'm also excited
I'll see
for
Selena Gomez also probably.
Yeah, she'll be in there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Other prompts that I'm really excited for, pirate mermaids. I think that is very thematic and very interesting. Yes. I think that the octopus mermaid, that I think you have a lot of opportunity for. I think in terms of like aquatic life and the category of just fish, there are a lot of things that if you have a half person, half fish, you could have like a half anglerfish or half eel.
Yeah,
the possibilities are pretty much endless.
That's what's fun about a prompt list, I think, is that the idea being that, and I must admit, both Whitney and we both admitted we don't do all 31 days of the prompt list. We don't have time. We just can't get to it, even though, we're running it. But it's really because we're running it, by the way. But to be able to kind of like go through and, here's the ones I really want to hit. It's hard for me to pass up Star Wars. We always do May 4th. That's the only one that really is reoccurring every year is we always make May 4th Star Wars. And we should do Mother's Day every year, but we did have the prompt mother. It just wasn't on Mother's Day, if I remember right. I think we got it wrong. So
really? I thought I saw them a lot on Mother's Day, and they were so precious.
They were. They were. So
it can be hard to like take everything into account with putting together that calendar. It's a challenge.
It is, and it's been largely my job, and hopefully I'll bring in Whitney next year because I had done them. I did the prompts. Usually I do them months and months ahead of time, and then we have some sponsors that wanted to be involved in the prompt list too, and that worked out kind of nice. Like Wacom, we actually did it on our own. We had one of the prompts be doodle, and we kind of dedicated it to Wacom because that's something we do on our Wacoms. We doodle. But others were like, okay, well, they wanted to have a special word, and that as long as it works, something that works. Like we had vibe was a sponsored word, and I love vibe as just a word, and just think of how would I make that work? Is it underwater dance?
No prompts, just vibes.
Yeah. So there's really almost not a right or a wrong to the words. I think anything is a challenge, and you can go a different direction. I like some that are more emotion based too, because that always then sorts to kind of give you an idea for a story. Vibe's got a little bit of an emotion to it, just like it does it's a feeling, So.
Totally.
Oh, and by the way, so what I have up here, this is our mascot for 2022. We've just started going down the road of creating mascots for MerMay, and we had one last year, but we didn't tout it that much. But this is this year's, and it's Harmony is her name. Haha, get it? Toon Boom Harmony. And Whitney designed this, and this is the turn sheet. Hold on, I'm clicking the wrong button.
I love the starfish in her hair.
Thanks.
Yeah, isn't that nice? So Whitney, you pitched this because you said that all these starfish have different emotions and things like that.
Oh,
that story.
They were silly. It's actually kind of funny. So last year, I did a Wacom takeover, and I drew a mermaid, draw this in your style, and she was covered in starfish with like this fishnet corset, and she was kind of sexy and aged up. And I really like the color palette. So this year I was thinking, we're still working with Wacom. Maybe I'll do like her little sister, or I'll design something that's in the same world so they felt like they were related in some way. So I started working on this character and just thought, who's Harmony? Because I think, Tom, you were like, I think we should call her Harmony. So I just started sketching it in my head. I'm like, who is that? And this character just kind of came out, and yeah, it was fun. I drew all these little funny starfish all over her, and each one has like a little personality, and like one's like a little tough guy with muscles, and the other one's like sweet and sleepy, and I don't know. It was just a good time. Sometimes you just like kind of get carried away when you're drawing. That's like, I live for that feeling where you're just kind of not thinking about anything else in the world other than the design that you're doing and that you're creating. You're like bringing something to life, It was fun. And that's how I felt when I designed her. But
this is the guy here.
I think a lot of artists, like professional artists, tend to lose that feeling where if you're working, your day job is making art, it's hard to make art when you're trying to unwind.
100%, yeah.
And then just to throw this back to Toon Boom Harmony. So I took her character, and just yesterday I was doing a demo for Wacom. And of course, I opened up my Toon Boom and I said, I'm going to do an animation demo. And I only had an hour. So I just said, okay, I'll do a head turn with Harmony. And this isn't in between. And by the way, she ends up becoming Ariel's daughter about halfway through.
You kept on saying that. I thought you looked great.
But so that's my quick keys for a little head turn of her, hearing something and then turning and reacting.
What?
Yeah,
I love the middle pose with the eyes get really big. It's very expressive. It's
yeah.
You sort of see it for a fraction of a second, but you feel it.
Yeah, and that's right there probably. Yeah, so lots of squash and stretch and stuff. And these are just the keys. There would be in-betweens in between all this. I just I have not gotten a chance to touch it since yesterday. And this was honestly maybe my second time using Toon Boom Harmony. I must admit. I even didn't know on the live stream yesterday. I was like, how do I play this? I couldn't even think of how to. I was like, where's the play button? And so I know there were a lot of people watching along, going, yelling at the screen, going, "Tom, it's right there." That's what it felt like. I could hear them.
Press the brackets to flip between the frames. Yeah, no, I understand. I've been there.
That I figured
Do you have
out.
any?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you have any design suggestions for making mermaid characters unique or visually distinct?
Oh man, I think that's to you, Whitney. What do you do? What?
Me? I mean, I
Yeah.
loved it going on Pinterest and then seeing like actual sea life, So when I'm doing something for MerMay, I'll look up like crustacean or anglerfish, like you were saying, or like deep sea fish or saltwater fish or freshwater fish, whatever, kelp, and I'll just see like actual things that exist in the ocean, and it's so trippy and so inspiring. Like my imagination could never come up with the amazing things that already exist, So I kind of use that as a jumping off point and then merge it with something that I've seen in fashion or in pop culture and kind of create something new, but definitely using reference from the natural world is always like a good way to make it feel like kind of unique and
When
cool.
you did something on this model sheet, I wanted to point out, which is, you did actually like a leg shape, almost like there's a knee here, and and I almost never see anybody do that. That's pretty unique to a mermaid, that you kind of almost thought of her like it's a person in a suit a little bit.
That's true. Yeah, I was thinking like anatomically, like it's a human, but it's a fish, and like should I give her some kind of like legs in there? Oh, you know who actually has it? Who? Is it manatees? Manatees have like legs in there, dude. It's so weird.
Oh yeah,
really?
yeah. Vestigial legs. I think whales have that also.
Yeah, like there's like
really?
two little legs. Anyway, like
Did it work in the fin? Really? Like two knees?
Swear, yes.
Wow, I did
It's
not
pretty
know
wild.
That. It is wild.
But I agree with Whitney. When I'm not being lazy, I love to dig into reference of fishes, and I've done that through the years. Because there's just so many ways to sort of reinvent it. I know people go, 31 days of drawing a mermaid, and they can get kind of in a rut and get tired of it halfway through, and I don't have any new ideas. Well, one, the prompt list is supposed to give you that challenge, but then two, I do think that going back to the original source, just fishes, looking at fish, and then, or maybe you start with humans. You look at different people and you're like, oh, that's an interesting shape right there. That's a heavy set guy. Well, what if I made him into something? What would he be if he was a fish? And that's the character designer in me kind of speaking to that too. But man, it's endless. There's an endless amount of fish. There's an endless amount of people. You're putting them together. How can you ever get tired of drawing a mermaid if it's that endless, So, and I must
Mermaid have a policy on. Oh.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but does Mermaid have a policy on reverse mermaids?
No.
So, everybody thinks they're the first one to do it, though. That's the funny thing. I don't know how many times every year there's like, I just thought of this funny gag. It's like a
fish head, human butt.
Yeah, fish head with like a naked butt and legs, right? And it's just like, haha, yeah, that's cute. We've seen it all. Yeah.
Had to check. So if you're looking to make your characters distinct, maybe that doesn't make it as distinct as you might think. I noticed with this character, you have sort of a horizontal or vertical fin, and like with fish, often it's the other way around. Like mammals, like whales and manatees, will have the like sort of the same shape as human legs would be. But I think like fish tend to have the other direction, which is an interesting variation. You could also have.
That's a good point. You're right, and I have seen a few. It's very rare to see that the variation you're talking about. Usually it's this way, and I blame Ariel again but I think mermaids through time, even before Ariel, they've always sort of made it go this direction. I don't know if this would be called vertical or horizontal, but
yeah. I like it because when they're front facing, you get to see that gorgeous fin. But if she's front facing and it's more like a fish, then you got to go to the side.
Yeah, from a design perspective, that also creates more challenges too.
Right.
And that also brings me to my next question. Do you have any thoughts about how mermaids and underwater scenes in general could be used to create interesting opportunities for compositions?
Okay, so my answer here is a few years back, I was kind of getting, I guess you could say, into a little bit of a rut with mermaids. And what I started realizing was I was drawing mermaids like people. I'd put them on a rock and all that. And I still love doing that. I'm not saying I pulled away from that completely, but I was like, you know what? To me, a mermaid, to really get the most out of a mermaid pose, let's put it that way, it feels like it should be more vertical, because at that point, then they're being not a fish, because horizontal would be a fish, right? They never come up into this position. But to me, underwater, a mermaid, when it stops and it's doing something, and you see that with Ariel, of course, too, she'll swim like this, but then she'll stop and go into this position. That's very natural for a mermaid. And to see, so I tried to kind of start approaching underwater poses as I need to not do this unless she's swimming. I need to keep her a little bit more upright. And it immediately kind of gave that more of it drew upon the human side of it, of course, but also it made it feel like a mermaid to me, rather than just.
I also want to say I love it in this discussion we're talking about what is natural for mermaids. That is delicious.
Yeah,
I love it.
We've overthought it over here quite a bit.
I'm on board with it. I just want to say, Whitney, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, this is great. I'm having fun.
I think one cool thing about having underwater scenes is that things can float, and you can have sort of compositions that you might not see above water as much.
Oh, for sure. Well, and I love the idea of being able to have her be on an island, be on a beach, be to me, some of the best stuff of Ariel was when she was on that rock watching Eric, and right?
Yeah.
Or in a grotto down underneath the water, and in a shipwreck and all that. And so there's a world underneath the water. So obviously it's almost endless what you can do. And then you can make them float like they're in space. So you can do Star Wars Day in a new, interesting way. So yeah, trying to play with the settings is not something I've been amazing at, but I have tried to do that through the years too, is change where they are. It doesn't always have to be just bubbles.
For sure. I do love that weightlessness feeling. I think that's also another element of mermaids and why they're so aspirational, is just because, like, how nice is that feeling of just floating,
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
I also think too, like the example you showed with the anemones and the clownfish mermaid, I think is really like just so many fascinating opportunities to feature different biomes. The sea's big.
Right, totally. I love when I see people getting specific or scientific, so good.
Scientific mermaids. Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. Do you feel that events like MerMay can be really helpful for artists who are interested in entering the animation industry and students who are trying to build a portfolio?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I think that especially given the fact that we have this panel of judges, if there's work that we keep seeing that's really cool, it's going to pique our interest. And, maybe there's some potential at some point to work with those people or to recommend those people to someone we know, but like we're all looking at this work. So if there's something that someone wants to do in life, career-wise, and it's something that we could help them with, we're going to be paying attention. So I think it could help them, sure.
And
sorry, I didn't want to interrupt.
I keep hitting my mouse, and I'm realizing, again, I don't know Toon Boom that well, but I'm sliding this image all around, and I can't get it back. Should I stop screen sharing?
If you want to close the screen share, I think we're able to at this point.
Okay. I don't know what happened. Are we back?
I think we're okay. We can still see you, and that's what's important, I believe. So, Tom, how do you feel that events like MerMay can be helpful for artists entering the animation industry?
Oh, definitely getting discovered. That is an element that we never talk about because you can't promise that, right? But we all know that Instagram has really become, and I can't tell you, I do a podcast with my twin brother, the Bancroft Brothers Animation Podcast, and we interview artists all over the animation industry. And I can't tell you how many times in the last, say, 3 to 5 years that we've talked to an artist that said they got discovered on Instagram. They got discovered, or an art director was looking for a position and they followed them already. And therefore, even though they hadn't met them, they got reached out to because of their Instagram following. Pernell Oram, our good friend, is a good example of that. So do spotlight events like MerMay and Inktober also get you more followers and noticed? Oh, 100% it does. We did a live stream. Whitney, you tell this story. We just did a live stream. Every Tuesday this month, we're doing Tale Talk Tuesdays, and we're having different artists on where we do an interview. And then every Wednesday, we're doing Wacom Wednesdays, where we do a live demo. That's where I did this animation I just showed. And hopefully Whitney's going to do it next week, by the way. But we also did on Saturdays. Whitney came up with a great idea where we do this game show kind of a thing, where on Saturdays we do a live Instagram and we bring in 2 to 3 different artists. And Whitney emceed it last Saturday. But Tanya, and I can't say Tanya, what's her last name?
LaHoo Campbell. Tanya LaHoo Campbell and Dylan Bonner and Tom all did a character design showdown. So the 3 of them got to drawing based on what someone in the comments section just threw out. So somebody said like Ninja Mermaid, somebody said Spy Mermaid, and that's the one that we went with. And all 3 of them designed this amazing spy mermaid in their own, way. It was really cool. And I was going to draw, but I didn't tell you this, Tom, but like, I had my camera like set up to this tripod attached to my chair.
Uh-huh.
And right when everyone was about to draw, like I go to clip my phone onto the thing and the whole thing breaks off.
Oh.
Loud.
Oh no.
It's crazy. I was like, oh my God. And Tom, you were like, hey, Whitney, who should MC it? I was like, I will. I couldn't draw anyway. It was a mess. It worked out.
And to back up to my story, what did you say that Tanya said afterwards?
Oh, that's right. That's why we're talking about this.
Yeah.
Tanya got like 200 followers from her, just drawing. Everybody's going, who is this amazing, wonderful, cool artist? And they click on her name and they follow, So it's a really great way, participating in MerMay and just hanging out and showing your love for mermaids to get, more attention, followers, friends, everything.
It's kind of always been my time of the year that, because as a judge, I'm already looking at people's art like crazy. I always fall in love with about 5,000 to 18,000 new artists and start following them. And I know I'm not the only one. I know that's happening across the board.
Totally.
It's really great that it's an opportunity for artists to find community. I know for the past 2.5 years, that's been very difficult for a lot of artists. Especially when things like animation festivals, in the first year of the pandemic, a lot of them had completely canceled, and it had been really difficult to network and make those connections. So having those opportunities can be very valuable for a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. Yeah.
I wanted to bring up something that we discussed before we went live, where Tom, I believe you mentioned that like with the mermaids, and what you really like about them is that they're essentially a line of action. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to that?
Well, I mean, I have a nostalgia for them too. So yes, artistically, I discovered a few years back as I'm drawing them, like I was doing a demo in line of action and I just chose, and I think May was either coming up or whatever. And I was thinking mermaids again. And I did the whole demo on drawing mermaids. And I realized, oh, wait a second, they are the perfect example for line of action. Because once you get rid of the legs, now you just have a sweeping line through the whole body in pose. And so they really are. That's the heart of what a mermaid is. So I think anybody trying to concentrate on line of action, it's a great example of that. But then I also have like a very nostalgic thing. So I'm a former Disney animator, and when I first started my internship at Disney, that was in 1989, and they were making The Little Mermaid at the time. And so while I couldn't touch it, I had all these little or intern projects and stuff. We were doing little tests and things. I got to see it happening, and so I saw the pencil test version of the whole film with storyboards and all that, and I would see it, and then we'd have another screening a few months later, and now there's more animation in there, and I would see Glenn Keane in the hallways animating and doing pencil tests, shooting his animation, and I just sort of sit there and watch him, and then watch him push play and be able to see it come to life. I mean, it was magic every day coming into the office, and it was only 9 weeks long. But to see that film being made and then have it come, and I heard Part of Your World. I had it on a cassette tape. I probably stole it. And I went on a date with it's my wife now, but my then girlfriend. And I said, you got to hear this. This is this new movie that's coming out from Disney. And I played Part of Your World on my cassette deck tape for after one of our dates, romantic kind of, image of us in the car. And I just pop it into the tape deck. That's an old thing they used to have, and played Part of Your World. And she, she liked it. Oh, that's cute. But I'm like practically crying because I can see the images and I'm living the animation in my head. And, but I'll just never forget that moment. And I must admit, MerMay owes at least part of why we started it way back then is because of Ariel.
Yeah, well, I mean, Howard Ashman was a genius. There's no other way around that.
Yeah. I agree.
So, with all of this in mind, how can artists participate in MerMay, and where can they see this year's entries so far?
Whitney, you do it. Go.
Well, yeah, anyone can participate. Just check out the prompt list. You can see that on mermaid.com. You can also see it on Tom Bancroft's Instagram account. You can see it on the official MerMay Instagram account, on my Instagram account. It's everywhere. So yeah, but check out mermaid.com. You'll see the prompt list, and then you can draw something, you can animate something, you can sculpt something, whatever you want, for the day that is today, or previous days, or future days, whatever you want. But it's really just meant to be this really fun, creative exercise. Don't think about it as a contest. Don't think about it as a competition. That's just a bonus. It's really just a fun time to communicate with people and connect with people and just have like a good time creating. That's my thought. What do you think, Tom?
And it's never too late to join. That's the big point. Is we have people that start halfway in because they were moving or just had stuff going on or didn't even hear about it, never knew about it. And so we have first-time mermayers every year, which is always exciting to hear that it's growing, or there's just new people getting on Instagram. I don't know which. And then also just that, if you want to be considered for the contest, like I said, really make sure you read the contest rules, when the cutoffs are. The thing that people don't know, that we don't really get the word out probably very clearly about, is that you can be in the contest and not post all 31 days. You can post one mermaid and win the contest. I will say that it helps if you post more than one, if you've done a good chunk of them, because that heightens your opportunity to win too, doesn't it? Right? There's more of you out there in the world that we will stumble upon. But you don't have to do all 31. The other one is you don't have to use the prompt list. You can just be creating mermaid things all year long, or all some month long, all in May. And it doesn't have to be from the prompt list. That, again, that's what I think people like about MerMay, is that it's a very loose kind of a situation. We try not to put up too many roadblocks or rules. But yeah, we do say use the hashtags. It's going to be our way to kind of funnel all of that, all the millions of artists into a funnel that we can now look at and have only hundreds of thousands rather than millions to look at. So,
and Tom, Whitney, I want to thank you both for joining us on the stream today. Where can our audience find more of your work?
Oh, okay. I'll jump in. Yeah, you can see my work on Instagram with just my name, Whitney Pollett. I have a website, wpollett.com. I'm on TikTok, Whitney Pollett, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever. It's all the same thing, Whitney Pollett. So yeah, just check me out there if you're interested in seeing more of my work. Tom?
Well, for MerMay, definitely go to mermay.com. That's going to be the #1 easiest way to kind of find out about MerMay and the judges and the sponsors and the prizes and the contest rules and the prompt list. But for me personally, I'm Tom Bancroft, the #1 on Instagram and on Twitter, and I'm on TikTok too as just Tom Bancroft. So I'm pretty easy to find also. Yeah.
And I'd also like to thank all of our viewers for joining us for today's live stream. If you're feeling inspired and would like to start animating mermaids of your own, you can download the 21-day free trials of Harmony and Storyboard Pro at toonboom.com. And if you enjoyed this week's discussion, make sure you join us on Monday for part 1 of Collaboratory with Mike Morris. That's our storyboard improv show. And maybe you should suggest some mermaid prompts for him to include in the story as well.
I love it.
Next week, we have Tony Ross on the show to discuss a project he's been working on, and you won't want to miss it. So be sure to tune in next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.